All right, so what I'm going to talk about now is for the people who are new to Two Moon Harmony as a software. So first of all, there's these little eyeballs down here in the timeline. This is what allows you to see which layers in the timeline. Right next to it is solo mode. Solo mode pretty much is it focuses purely on that layer of whatever you choose to solo. So for here, I'm going to solo Rosemary. Actually, I'm going to do Basil. All right. So now it's all gray because the color card here is not, it's, excluded from what you're able to see. But also what's excluded is Rosemary's layer. So, if I try to draw or use the line tool on Rosemary's layer while Basil is soloed, I can't do anything. I'm trying to draw right now when I'm clicking on the screen and nothing will happen. But if I go back to Basil's layer, look at that. I can draw because this layer is soloed. If multiple things are soloed and you don't want multiple things soloed anymore, you don't have to click, click these off both, you don't have to click them both off individually. You can just click this up here and both of them will unsolo. Okay. Now that we got soloing and, being able to see which layer is which here, there's this little pencil tool right here that'll maybe appear for you. And that means that's the layer that you're drawing on right now. That's the layer that you're on right now. If I click on Rosemary, see the little pencil tool shows up here. And another thing too is when we do cleanup, we are not going to be doing this on the color layer or line layer right here. Also make sure you're always on the line layer right now. Just make sure you're just only on this L. But we're not going to be doing it on the same layer. So what cleanup is it's just tracing. And, you see right here down in the timeline again, you click add drawing layer. And you want it to be a drawing layer. So, you got to make sure you're naming whatever layer that, is whatever. I'm just going to, for example, do Basil cleanup. So make sure you're naming it, just so for your sake you don't go crazy when you have to go through the dozens of layers that you may create and you can't find what you're looking for. So now I could start tracing over Basil, but if you look right here, I'm tracing over Basil. I'm on my trackpad right now. It's really hard to see which layer is which. So I'm just gonna, Control Z. Control Z that. So the solution is to lower the opacity of whatever layer that you're tracing on. So we're only tracing over Basil. So if you want, you can just get rid of Rosemary here, or get rid of all the other layers, or you can choose to solo. You can choose to actually don't solo Basil because you won't be able to see your cleanup. But turn off the other layers. So Rosemary turned off. Right down here in the timeline, it says show thumbnails. Okay, so we're gonna go down to Basil's layer down here in the timeline. We're gonna click show thumbnails, and now the thumbnails down here in the timeline looks a little bit different. So if you can see right here, this is opacity. So, just go down to 45 or whatever, 50, 30, whatever, is easiest for you, just so you could see the line that you are working with. With the line tool now, right over here in the tool properties, there's a couple different things. First, you want to click on this magnet right here. It's snapping. And then you want to click on this little tiny arrow right? This little white arrow down here. And I'm clicking it right now and it's not popping up because something's up with my Harmony right now. I don't know why. But a little like pop-up box will appear right here. Like subcategories of snapping will pop up, and there'll be like 4 different options, and you want to deselect, and I want to make this clear if you're using the line tool, deselect snapping to all layers. So make sure you deselect that, then open the little box back up by clicking on this little tiny gray arrow, and then you want to select snapping to contour. And what this will allow you to do is, or what it's kind of denying, is when you are going through, and let's say, for example, I'm going to start cleanup here. You know, blah, 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 blah. I don't know if you can see this, but as I pass my cursor over this line, it snaps. See that? I'm not fully on it yet, but it snaps. See, I'm moving my cursor and it's not going anywhere. Then when I move it off, it doesn't snap. If you go in here, you'll realize that there's a second snapping position. It snaps to the middle of the line. So, I'm going to click and it snapped right here. Now these 2 lines are connected. And then what makes this like super easy is the second position of which it snaps is at the edge. See that? It snaps directly into the center of that line right here, of the edge. This allows you to close up lines completely, so you can paint later on, and so make sure that you are closing your lines completely. So for example, I'm just gonna snap this here. This is a closed line. Because it's snapped to both here and to here, this is a closed line, which is important. Obviously, this is not what it's going to look like when I'm doing the final thing, but that's just to show you an example. Make sure you're closing your lines, and snapping to contour will allow you to snap and make sure that you have no open lines or whatever, and get all that funkiness going on. The reason why you deselected snapping to all layers is because if you snap onto here, there's a chance that it might snap to the line underneath, like the rough animation, and you don't want that. You want it to snap to this. So now that you got that out of the way, you can start tracing over Basil, make it look nice. Cool. And then I think you're set to go with beginning cleanup. One thing that I do want to mention is the last tool that you're going to want to make use of in this beginning stages of cleanup is the contour editor. And with the contour editor, you can click these lines, and you see these orange boxes. You can click these boxes, and it comes up with these green little circles. And both sides of it have these green little circles. And what they do is they control, where your line goes after you put it down. And this is important because, and this is the reason why we choose vector over bitmap, is because vector allows you to change the line after it's already been put down, and bitmap is once it's down, it's down. But here, this is a great example of why you want to do vector. Also, if you want this to be rounded out right here, and you don't want to have to click, both of these because, it's still pointed right here, what you can do is you can grab this, one of these 2 circles. I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to wiggle it. But you want to go horizontal and then wiggle it so it evens out. See, now it's rounded. That's rounded now. And, you can shorten it so, it looks nice. But yeah, now it's rounded. and you don't want like hard edges everywhere, and that's why you want to do rounded in some places.